well-established rich coming right back at you. Drake's new album don't sound like an album. This sounds like Damage Control with a $20 million budget. That's what Iceman feels like to me. And I know Drake fans are gonna be mad the second I say that. But listen to the album back to back a few times, without the we have to pick a side internet nonsense. Really listen to this man. This don't sound like somebody creating from a place of confidence. This sounds like somebody trying to rebuild an image after the world stopped believing their character. That's why this whole project feels weird to me. Not bad musically, just the energy of it. Because musically, Drake still sounds incredible. This man can still find a pocket better than 99% of the industry. The production still sounds expensive. The melody still catchy. The atmosphere still cinematic. But every time the album starts sounding good, here comes Drake talking like a Netflix cartel character. And that's the part that keeps taking me out of the music.
Man, I'm not gonna lie, bro. I'ma keep it a buck, bro. I love Drake, but damn, bro. What? I don't know if I need a second look, but this ain't hitting.
I don't know, man. The trailer says it's amazing.
I mean, it's cool. It's just...
Off first listen, because this is just the first listen. I don't know. I feel like there hasn't been that many standout songs. There's been a lot of good songs, but not that many standout songs. If I'm being honest, this is I've been listening to Drake for a decade and a half. There's not that many standout songs off the first listen. And in my personal opinion, I feel like if he just made one project, I mean, obviously he's trying to get out his deal or whatever he got going on. He literally rapped about it. But it's like, bro, like I'm a real fan of this music. I just wanted the best project possible. How hard he went for the rollout, I genuinely thought he was going to go that hard in curating just the best album. But it felt like he just putting out. I don't know a little bit. Yeah, y'all know what I'm saying though? I don't know. It sounds like a cool idea, like 3 albums. Like, I don't know anyone who's ever dropped 3 albums in one night, but it's something that sounds better than it actually is, in my honest opinion. You feel me? And chat on our dick a lot for sharing opinions, but it's like, bro, that's what make me me. So I'm gonna just share my opinion. That's just how I feel, though. That's just how I feel.
You know what Iceman really sounds like? It sounds like a man who got publicly embarrassed and decided that I'm not gonna let nobody think I'm soft again. That's what this whole album feels like. Overcorrection. And the reason it feels so forced is because Drake spent 15 years building the exact opposite type of artist. That's what makes it so strange. This man became the biggest artist in the world off emotional intelligence. That was his gift. He knew how to sound human. He knew how to sound jealous, insecure, lonely, petty, heartbroken, embarrassed. He made music for people who felt too much. That's why women connected to him. That's why regular dudes related to him. That's why his music dominated for so long. Drake never sold fear. He sold relatability. That was his magic. But after Kendrick stepped on his neck publicly, something happened to him artistically. And you can hear it all over this project. It sounds like Drake no longer trusts the version of him that made him famous. And that's sad when you really think about it. Because now every other song feels like he's trying to prove something. I'm cold, I'm icy, I'm evil. I got people, I can get something done. I'm moving different, I'm too powerful. Who are you talking to?
Bars. Say 3 albums are trash albums, 2 years too late. What site is this? Complex? The Glazer University. Oh my God. I've been a long fan. Oh my God. Mr. YouTube. Big 3 anyway. There was too many chefs in the kitchen. Bars. Come on, guys. Stop. Y'all gotta, let's all leave Lil Mans alone now, man. He did it. He dropped 3 mid projects. Hey, man, it was fun while it lasted. You're washed.
And that's the real issue with Iceman. Not the music, the believability. That's the word people keep dancing around. Believability. Kendrick can make an album like G and X and sound natural inside their energy because their energy feels connected to his roots. You can hear Compton in Kendrick's music. You can hear the West Coast in his DNA. When Kendrick gets aggressive, it sounds like somebody speaking from his environment. When Drake gets aggressive on Iceman, it sounds like somebody responding to criticism. That's the difference. Kendrick sounds inherited. Drake sounds influenced. That's why the tough talk don't land the same. And it ain't even about whether Drake is street or not. That conversation is childish to me. This is about energy. When somebody is really comfortable in who they are, they don't have to keep announcing it every 5 minutes. That's why this album feels exhausting after a while. Every song feels like Drake trying to convince the listener that he's somebody different now. And the more he try to sound dangerous, the more damaged he actually sounds. That's the irony of this whole project.
ICEMAN is here, guys. Drake dropped 3 albums last night. He dropped ICEMAN, he dropped Maid of Honor, and then he also dropped an album called Habibti.
There's no way anybody can have an opinion on this music yet. Nobody listened to all 3 of those albums.
Not enough for it to sink in either, because I feel like on ICEMAN, that's where he's getting like really reflective and getting into a lot of the things. Again, I haven't heard Habibti, but I think some of the stuff got to set in a little bit. So let's get to just some of the things people were talking about, because Charlamagne, you let us know that a lot of this stuff was going to be happening on this album. I don't know how you knew.
I didn't only said 3 things.
You said
Future was going to be on it.
Yes.
He was going to diss Khaled and A$AP Rocky. That's it.
But those were big things to know. Now let's take a listen let's start with Jay-Z, because he threw a couple shots at Jay-Z. Let's take a listen to Whisper My Name. Yeah, but I think the gist of what I took from it is like there's so much going on in his life right now. There's a lot of like people make it seem like he's making this battle his end all be all. He's like
no. Ain't no people. He makes it seem like this battle is the end all be all.
But once you hear,
no people.
But when you hear this record, have you heard the record in full?
Yes, okay, that's the first record on the album.
When you hear this record though, you don't feel like okay, that stuff is there in a surface level,
No,
but it's just because he
is,
hasn't really gotten into everything else yet.
And at the end is when he mentions his father. Everything else is definitely woe is me, cry me a river. They jump me, mommy, but I'm coming back with the chopper on everybody.
Now let's talk about the women for a second, because this is a part that really stood out to me. Drake don't even sound heartbroken no more. He sounds emotionally burnt out. Back in the day, his toxicity sounded human. You could tell it was a real person underneath the ego. Now it just sounds empty. Like a man who done been rich, famous, worshipped, desired, and numb for so long that he don't even know how to talk about women without sounding detached from his own soul. That's why some of these bars hit me so weird. They don't sound cool. They sound spiritually tired. And when he talks about being set in his evil ways, that's when I gotta turn this shit off. Not because it's offensive, but because it sounds corny. That's the word people are afraid to say about certain parts of this album. Corny. Not the production, not the mixing, not the engineering. The persona. That's what's corny. Because you can hear the exact moment when Drake stops rapping like himself and starts rapping like the version of himself he thinks people respect more after the Kendrick battle. That's a disconnect. And the sad part is he never even needed to do this. Drake's superpower is not being a menace. It was self-awareness. That's what made him special. He was the biggest artist in the world while still sounding like a dude texting his ex at 2 a.m. sitting in a Maybach feeling empty. That was his lane. But now it sounds like he's ashamed of that version of himself. And ICEMAN feels like the sound of a man trying to kill off his own vulnerability because the internet used it against him after Kendrick. That's why this album feels cold. Not naturally cold, defensively cold. And the craziest part about all of this, the album actually gets worse the more he talks tough. That's the wild part, because some of the best moments on this project are the moments where you can still hear the old Drake slip through the cracks. Then here he come again, talking about switches, sliding, people getting hit, people getting dealt with, and it sounds like a man who been binge watching Narcos trying to rebuild his masculinity through rap lyrics. That's what makes the album feel so artificial emotionally. It don't feel lived in. It felt curated. And that's why so many people are walking away from ICEMAN feeling confused. Because sonically, the album is huge, but spiritually, it sounds lost. That's the best way I can describe it. It sounds like somebody with everything still trying to figure out who he is after the whole world stopped treating him like he was untouchable. And maybe that's the real story of this entire album. Not that Drake lost a rap battle, but that he lost trust in the version of himself that built his career. That's why ICEMAN don't feel like a natural evolution. It feels like an identity crisis hidden under beautiful production. And that's why this album sounds so frustrating. Because underneath all the posturing, all the icy visuals, all the mob boss talk, you can still hear glimpses of the artist people fell in love with. He just don't seem to trust that version of himself anymore. But hey, that's just my opinion. What's yours? Like, comment, subscribe. Establish Rich. I'll be back with another one. Peace.